How we doing, everyone? Welcome back to another edition of FSI's NASCAR video preview for the Cup Series event at Las Vegas for the Pennzoil400 presented by Jiffy Lube. Always got to get the sponsor plug in and NASCAR events. It is TK Nation 47 here talking. We have Mega Roller 31, Andrew on the other side. How we doing tonight, Andrew? And are you excited for another event here at Las Vegas?
Yeah, especially after Xfinity actually made some decent money. So,
oh yeah, we rocked that. Yeah,
I have to admit that this build is hard.
It is. It is. A lot of dialogue pre-video for me and Mega tonight, trying to go through what optimal lineups would look like, cash builds and GPP builds. A lot of hard decisions to make this week. DraftKings really made this difficult on us, and kudos to them. I like a tough field. I like a tough build. Looking forward to it. 267 laps around this mile-and-a-half track. We have guys that really do well on this course, but those guys been racing a long time. So this is kind of like a new track to the circuit in ways. But yeah, let's get into kind of the talking points of the slate. We have dominators. We're going to need a few. Mega, give me a few of your favorite dominators or, place differential plays for our cash builds.
Well, going back to Xfinity, it was really hard because the situation, you had some really good guys in the back that you knew were going to afford, but you wanted to get somebody up front. So Cindric was definitely probably the most popular choice. And I was kind of on the fence this morning, and I reached out to you about it. And I actually split my cash, and I went half with Cindric and a lesser driver. And then I took Harrison Burton, who was starting in the 20s. And if Cindric didn't spin him out, it would have been a big payday. But the funny thing is both lines cashed and, made me hundreds of dollars. But the difference between the two lines was 0.15. It was such a razor thin margin. Yeah. So in looking at the breakdown before, we're not spoiling any of the picks here, there are a couple guys in the back here, not as dominant, not as obvious, that they're going to fly up like in trucks and in Xfinity, where they were just completely misplaced in the back. They should have been to the front with their skill and with their equipment. It's just this weird year of just randomly setting lineups with no practice and qualifying. So the thing is these guys are going to get you place differential, but then you want somebody up top that's going to be turning the laps and hopefully lead. Now, Cup's a little bit different than truck, where you have a couple of guys that can get out there and dominate because they're professional drivers, and this is the top level. So there's lots of ways it could go. So
yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
So I basically have three guys in my lineup that I was kind of building as a core. And then I was looking up top to see, okay, who could the dominator be? And I guess my favorite guy, I would say, dominator wise, would be Mark Truex Jr. However, his price, I really was struggling to fit in the final two pieces. They just weren't. The whole thing's come down to, is Truex worth sacrificing two other roster spots for people that could potentially lose me points or, really get me nothing in return? From those two other guys, I need like maybe 25, 30, but I can't afford to get like a 5 or a negative. And there's some guys that are really cheap that are starting in the middle of the pack. I'll just throw out like Ryan Preece, for example, who's starting 19th, and he's like 5,800. But he's got a chance to lose 10 points or, 10 place differential points. And I just really can't go that way. So I think my dominator, and this is going to shock probably everybody, I think I'm going to go with Alex Bowman. And it's kind of the same principle as Harrison Burton. Harrison Burton was starting in the 20s, and Alex is starting 9th. But he's got some speed. He's done well at these tracks, not as well as some of the other darlings that a lot of people will be on, but his price is only 8,800, which really helps me get my final two pieces in and a line that I feel comfortable with.
Yeah, absolutely. Bowman, kind of a shocker, but if you think about it, Bowman is really good on mile-and-a-half tracks. And, I really like his his driving style. I think he does well on these, surfaces like this. And I don't see anything wrong with it. I think a good talking point is, what are we going to do with Kevin Harvick on the pole? For me, I think I'm going to be playing quite a bit of Kevin Harvick in GPPs, simply because I think everybody's going to get scared of what happened in Xfinity and in Truck about these cars that are expected to be up front early, lead laps, and then they don't. They're going to get scared by that. I think Kevin Harvick has some of the experience, that we're looking for. He has a lead lap projection of 31.20. 679 lead laps over the course of his career. Very long career. Mega, how long is his career?
He has all those laps because he's been raced for 800 years. So,
Yes.
If you leave 1 lap a year, then boom, you get 800 eventually.
That's what he said to me. And so I was like, oh, what about Kevin Harvick? Yeah, because he's been running for 800 years. But he's got 2 wins, 7 top 5s, 12 top 10s, an average finish of 13th, which is, not something I want to see. And obviously everyone's going to hear from the industry this week that, oh, he didn't lead a lap from the pole last year. Well, even Kevin Harvick and Rodney Childress know that too. So I think they're going to be really set up for maybe even a good short run. And if they finally get caught on the long run, maybe so be it. But I think the team's going in knowing that they have to get out front, have to dominate. And Harvick's very good on dominating racetracks in his career. So I'm going to be fine with having Kevin Harvick in my dominator role. As I kind of have I have my dominator set up in thirds, like I have, 29%, 29%, 29% of, the Truex, Harvick, and a guy to be named later for my dominators. But it's a big, vital part of our process here to find winning lineups. You have to have the guy that leads the most laps. And, like you had said, there's guys in the back. Who are those guys that we're focusing on that are going to be really good for place differential this week, that are going to continue on the theme of this Las Vegas week, where we're taking guys from the back that have the high place differential? Who are those guys this week?
Well, before we get to that, speaking of the theme of Las Vegas week, I truly hope, for your sake, that Harvick does get out there and lead. But if you look at the Xfinity race today, Daniel Hemrick got out there and led, and we completely discounted him with all the guys around. And then Brandon Jones got out there and led a bunch of laps. And then it was AJ Allmendinger ends up winning it. So the equivalent of this would be that Michael McDowell gets out there and leads a bunch of laps randomly. Or, I'm looking at some of the guys that are Kurt Busch, some of the unusual suspects. It could happen. And the way that seems like the tire wear and everything is that cars, when they had the fresh tires, were making a bunch of laps, but you really didn't see anybody, once they got out in that clean air, catch any of these leaders. Nobody, these races didn't go into overtime. There was no shootout or drama at the end. They just really, even at the end of stages, the cars were getting close, but they just really couldn't overtake the leader.
So, yeah, that's this Kansas kind of Las Vegas track style. That's just how these tracks are.
So going back to what we talked about, there's 2 guys in the back that I like that have had really bad starts, but they have really good cars. They have really good teams, and they're really good drivers. So I'm locking in Matt DiBenedetto, and he's starting 30th. He's 9,000, and he has last Vegas race here, his average running position was 8.4. It was 14.2. So, even if he doesn't get up into the top 10, if he gets up into the top 15, that's definitely banking you a bunch of points. So I figure if he finishes right outside the top 10, you're going to have anywhere from probably 45 to 50 DK points. That's without even leading a lap. And he's probably going to turn some fast laps getting up there too, passing all the rest of the cars with his equipment compared to the other ones around him. The other guy is Ryan Blaney. Penske has done really well here. All the drivers seem to do well. He's actually led races here, done well. He had a 3.8 average running position in the spring race last year. Got my season flipped around. And then the late race, he was 8.10. So definitely, just had even at Kansas, which is a comparable track, he was 6.4 and 4.5. So, we're talking top 10, top 5 running position potential for Ryan Blaney. So I have him finishing 7th, and I have him projected to have about like 60 DK points. So that's definitely, it's like almost 6x.
Yeah, definitely industry favorite tomorrow, Ryan Blaney. Been kind of quiet, and it could be the breakout week for Mr. Blaney. I'm
He
big
just needs
fan of
to
his.
avoid Keselowski and his Logano. Like it seems like and pit road. Like I remember one race last year that he crashed coming to pit road, but it seems like his teammates were the ones that have taken him out of most of these races.
That or Chase on a road course.
Yeah,
So
true.
if he gets away from those people, he's going to be fine. I like Ryan Blaney. I like, speaking of which, my favorite GPP play, Brad Keselowski, 10-3. I've kind of made my moment here with Mr. Keselowski. I've pre-video called him to win. He had an average run position of 11th, but he has 4 wins last year. He had 3 wins at this track, 7 top 5s. He's led over 282 laps. I'm a big fan of Keselowski tomorrow. A lot riding on it. I got him for a third of my lineups. You're going to be overweight on the field, and then I'm hoping he maybe nudges past your Bowman and gets to the lead. But it's going to be fun to watch Brad Keselowski. I think he makes for a good GPP play, coming in around 15% owned, somewhere around there, 15 to 20%. I think that sets up pretty well. Who are some other GPP plays that you like heading into this for this build that we have built so far?
Well, Logano would probably, I don't know if he'd be a GPP. I mean, he could even be a cash play. He's starting 15th. He's got some success here too. Didn't do well in the fall race. He had 18 running position, and he's a little bit down in my model just because like Kansas, he had a race that was in the 19s, but the spring race, he was, I keep on saying spring. Yeah, it was spring. I'm all messed up here. But the first race in 2020, because we had that COVID break and everything got all like goofy. But anyways, the first time they ran in Las Vegas in 2020, he had an average running position of 4.2, which was besides, I think that was the best in Cup. Yeah.
Nice. I like Logano. I'm all for Penske tomorrow. Give me the Blaney, Keselowski, and DiBenedetto stacks, and then I'll swap out Logano and Keselowski. I like those builds.
Yeah, if you play all 4, then you're gonna end up with like Timmy Hill and
you
Joey
can't do
Gase.
that.
Yeah, no, not a good decision.
And
Friends don't let friends build like that.
No, they do not.
But anyways, going back to some other GPP,
Yeah.
I think Chase Elliott is definitely someone. He's another Hendrick card, just like my Bowman pick, but much more expensive. He's 10-6. He ran 4.4 average running position and a 7.4, so definitely does well at this track. He's starting off to have a good year, and I could definitely see him getting up into the top 5 and even getting out there and leading some laps. So he could be the dark horse. One kind of the same position as Almirola started out in. For or Allmendinger.
Allmendinger for Xfinity. That was a good call by TK. I'm glad you said that. I was on that one, and led to some really good some wins for us.
But he's starting almost the same exact like position as he did, and has like about the same much more talent because he's in the Cup, but it's like almost a similar scenario. So
I believe Allmendinger started 10th.
Yeah.
You know who's starting 10th in the Cup race?
Brad Keselowski.
Here we go. At 10th position. That's I'm all for it this week at Vegas. Let's see if it pans out. I do have one more for you. I'm gonna talk on Denny Hamlin for a little bit. 7 wins. He is third average, I believe, average run speed, average running position of third, 9,200. That's really cheap. Projected to win in your model. I always look at that as something to key on. 27 lead lap projection. I love Denny. I think he's going to be one of those cars like you alluded to earlier on about breaking down my Harvick pick when you said that, we could get a multitude of drivers leading, 20 to 30 laps each. I think if that were to happen, he would be one of those drivers. And I think his finishing upside could really propel his salary into an optimal build. I think Denny Hamlin, a big part of tomorrow's race in the talking points of it. What are your thoughts on Hamlin? And should that pretty much do us for the Dominator GPP talk?
Yeah. I can see Hamlin. He and Harvick last year were the ones first off the hauler and seemed to have the best setups. And it seemed like they were trading like wins, like back and forth. They're definitely the two most successful drivers in the non-practice COVID system. However, this is a new year. We had like Daytona, the weird road course. So it's going to take a couple weeks before we actually see who has the setups and mastered and stuff. Because again, you've had a lot of weird stuff, and as you get these like lineups set with these like draws and stuff, because of Daytona was so funky with like having big ones and crashes and people taken out, and then the road race, which wasn't most people's cup of tea, and they had to start in the back. So it's gonna, in a couple more weeks, like as we continue to turn out these 1.5 mile tracks, I think the starting grid will start to stabilize a little bit better. And then we'll be able to see, when we have the fast cars all starting up top, like who is able to get out and dominate and do well. It'll give us a clearer picture.
Absolutely. And we're going to get real comfortable with our builds in the field, and then they're going to dump Bristol dirt on us. We're going to be like, I don't know.
Can we take
what
that?
What do you think? We're going to be looking up some Chili Bowl records.
That preview show is going to be me holding a hat and just pulling out names. Here's my 6 drivers. Do they all fit in the salary?
Is Christopher Bell 12K? We'll get to Bristol dirt when we get there. Yeah, I like Denny Hamlin, and I like who we talked about. I think those are pretty spot on names that we had gone through. But let's talk some value now. We need to get into how we're going to fill out the rest of these lineups. Go ahead and kick us off, because I think you got two of the key pieces here to talk about. Who's our value play tomorrow?
Well, the last 2 previews we kind of looked at like 7K and went straight down and kind of said yes or no vote. There's a couple guys a little bit higher that I could see. Christopher Bell, everybody kind of forgot about him after his like.
I don't mind him tomorrow.
Win. Yeah, Gibbs, good equipment. 16th, a little bit high, but I think he can at least finish where he started. Dylan 12th, the same thing. Chase Briscoe, he was really, really good in these types of tracks and at this track in Xfinity.
He's getting comfortable too.
Yeah, he like his average running position was like second, and actually the second Kansas race was 1.7. So like, how many laps did he not lead to get something like that?
Right.
Crazy. But again, it's a different situation. It's a different, he's Stuart Haas, so it's a decent team, and he's the competition's much faster, but he's definitely somebody at 74 I consider. Russ Chastain, a little dicey.
GPP only.
If you land on him, maybe make things happen, but I think he needs a little bit more seasoning in Cup before I'd go there comfortably. Eric Jones, I don't mind in the petty car at 71. He's starting 29th. I think there's definitely can get up into the top 20. So
you could bet on talent there. The equipment's the hard part, but talent wise, Eric Jones is a good driver for that position.
Yeah. So then we have Bubba, Ricky Stenhouse, Ryan. I'm not interested in Ryan Newman. They're GPPs. You can plug them in if they fit, but I think they're all starting too high. But then my favorite guy is Cole Custer. Second year in the series, so he actually won a race last year. Stuart Haas again, same as Chase Briscoe. He's only 6,500 and he's starting 20th. I think he can definitely finish around where he started. So I don't think he's going to lose you any points. And I think he's got a little bit of upside maybe to pick up like a couple positions. So he's definitely one I feel safe at 6,500, and Buescher right next to him. Buescher is 64. He's starting 18th, which again is kind of a little bit scary high. But if you look at his average runs, it was 18 and 18.9. So if he finishes where he started, you don't lose anything. You're going to get like maybe 20. So DK points out of it, and you're gonna be able to fit in like everybody else you want that's gonna like turn out and crank out the points for you.
Yeah.
So these are like safe plays just to kind of fill out your lineup and not hurt you or lose anything. You're not,
Mhm.
you know, it's kind of like when you put a punt in any sport, and if
Sure.
they get you enough just to get anything, then and not a zero, you're good. And
Yeah, it's
Busher,
like if Busher you get if you get Busher helps you fit maybe two dominators,
right.
you know, because he's
A-
cheap enough.
and he led a stage, in Homestead last race. He was doing really good until he had like a tire problem, and then like started to he spun a little bit or something, rubbed against the wall, and then he like
Yeah,
stayed
he had a
back.
tire
But
rub.
yeah,
Yeah.
but his average running position at Homestead was 9.9, which is really good.
Yep.
So uh the next two guys are a little bit scary, but I think we agree that they're are playable compared to the other people that are below them, and that'd be Corey LaJoy and Daniel Suarez.
Yeah, I had Suarez down, finished 15th last week with an average run position of 21st. He, I believe, is starting 21st this week. Trackhouse is kind of has some funding behind it with the Pitbull ownership coming into play. Justin Marks is their, their basically chief engineer, I guess you would say, on designs of the car. He's pretty good. There was a pretty cool documentary out on the Trackhouse management team and everything from a team standpoint. And pretty much it didn't sell me 100%, but I think they're working with some better equipment than maybe Rick Ware Racing or
Yeah.
or Spine Motorsports, or Spire plus
Expire.
Spine. Yes, Spine.
Expire.
Is it expire?
No,
Well,
that's what happens to
that's
the
what you
cars. They expire.
exactly. But no, I think they're working with a little better equipment than those other teams that are in the total fade list. I think Suarez is a decent driver for this build too for this team. He doesn't have the best average run numbers when it comes to this track. He did really well last week, so I'm going to kind of bank on form and hope that the 6100 can be paid off and maybe replicate his performance last week. But certainly we've seen Suarez drive himself out of races. It's questionable. I wouldn't consider it a cash play. I would go with Custer and Busher instead.
Right. And LaJoy's right there too. And he is a Spire car, which we make fun of. And he did lose an engine or something, I believe, last. But
Yeah,
his average running position is in the mid 20s, and he's starting 33rd. So, if he can
yeah,
hold
it's good.
that or get up into the low 20s, and you pick up some points there. So, not a cash play, but he's somebody that we're not saying fade. He's someone that is definitely playable, we'll call it.
Yeah,
Um,
playable. Best
Going
words.
below there, the next two are Michael McDowell and Ryan Preece. Both are starting way too high. McDowell is still up high because of Daytona in fifth. Like once he falls back down into like the mid 20s, then we'll definitely play him
Yeah,
again
sign him
because
up.
he's a
Yep.
rock solid play at like 5-6K if he's in the 20s, but starting way too high. Preece the same thing. He needs to fall down into like the low 20s and be like 5-6K, and then you know we'll be talking about him in the same breath we are talking about the other two. If he
Sure.
finished where he starts, then he's good with a little bit of upside. Don't really like anybody else. Quinn Huff, BJ McLeod, Timmy Hill, Smith Lee, Gase, Ware, all questionable equipment. Even though they're starting in the 30s, they're YOLO plays. I mean, if
No
you're going
dice
with
for
some
me.
wild, like try to put 3 or 4 dominators in and you have just enough money left to put those two in, then I mean, I guess Timmy Hill is starting dead last, so you're never going to lose any points on him, and you're
Sure.
only going to lose a couple points on Joey Gase. So I guess that's the case that you could make for those guys. But
If you play for an early wreck, I would say that'd be your only option. But
right,
that don't
right,
really happen
but
at Vegas.
but friend of the program, Josh Belicky is in this range too. He's 35th, and the reason TK and I like him, and it's not because we have any personal attachment or fans or anything he's really done, other than he finishes race. The dude has
Yes.
a less than 9% DNF rate. Now, granted, one of the races he DNF'd last year was this one, but still,
Perfect.
he's just so consistent. Like he's probably not going to finish on the lead lap. He's probably not going to get over, you know, 30th place. But if it's a thing where like these guys get aggressive early and they stand out like 3-4 wide and a bunch of the back cars crash or have mechanical problems, like today it was amazing like how many good cars went out of that Xfinity race.
Yeah.
Like if you look at the bottom five, it wasn't people that like started and parked or like were had mechanical problems. It was good cars gone bad.
Yeah. Definitely. And then someone like Timmy Hill would benefit from some cases like that. But for the Cup Series, that's usually not the case,
Right.
unless there's a little bit of a pile up and early on, kind of like what we saw at Daytona. But that typically doesn't happen at Vegas unless they go 4 wide, and it just happens direct. Just our 4 favorite drivers, like the Truck Series. But I forgot about Friday, right?
Thanks for reminding me.
Yeah. Oh well, I just had to throw that in there. But I think that's gonna do it for me on driver's point of view. I think that we pretty much nailed it down on our dominators, our favorite plays, our favorite values. So thank you for listening, everyone. Mega, do you have anything else to add before we go?
Just a quick commercial before we go. If you've enjoyed playing NASCAR on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we at FFSI, myself and some others, we have been doing spring training baseball, and we've actually been doing really good. The one coach McKinley and I, we both won $1,000 this week and $15 entries. Yeah, and yeah, so I think we pulled in a couple thousand this week, and not many people are covering spring training baseball. And guess what? It's completely free. So all you have to do is go to our website, and you can sign up for a week subscription for it, and that gets you into the chat, and we'll give you the cores, the breakdowns, and everything to get you going. So if you want to do something waiting for next week's NASCAR action to come, the slates are nice. They're usually at like 105. It's a 4 games, and it's been really good.
Fantastic. That sounds like a steal. Free money.
Yeah.
You guys have been killing it in MLB. I'm really happy for you guys. Looks like that's going to be a fun year ahead. And if you guys want to subscribe to the channel, just hit that subscribe button below. You can find our MLB content, other content into other channels like soccer, NHL, things like that. FSIDFS.com. You can find our Discord chat links, our website links on the Twitter handle at FSI_DFS. You can follow me. Free stuff all around. You can follow me at TKNation47. Follow Andrew at MegaRuler31. Thank you guys for listening. That'll conclude Las Vegas. Mega, let's bring home another solid victory. Let's keep the cores good. The projections look awesome.
Then on to Phoenix next week, right?
On to Phoenix. I love it. Fun tracks. And thank you guys for listening, and have a good night.
Good luck.